Digital transformation can reshape how industrial organizations operate. Many teams introduce new tools with the expectation of stronger performance, clearer visibility, and better control of information. In practice, the technology will perform as designed. But the risk is that transformation might be slower because, without a change enablement strategy, people tend to default to working in their previous ways. As a result, adoption might lag, which ultimately delays value realization. This pattern is fairly common across complex organizations. The technical side moves forward while the people who rely on the tools each day feel unsure about how their work will change. That uncertainty creates hesitation and workarounds that weaken the outcomes leaders had hoped to achieve. This article launches our Change Enablement series, which explores the people side of transformation and the practices that help organizations move from technical installation to real operational change. Chapter 1 focuses on the human factor and why adoption stalls when teams are not engaged or supported through transition. At ReVisionz, we guide organizations through this challenge by placing people at the center of digital programs from the beginning. Our change enablement approach aligns communication, people readiness, sustainable training, and adoption with the realities of frontline work. This gives teams the clarity they need to participate in change and helps leaders move their vision into daily practice. Why transformations miss the mark? The belief that transformation fails due to weak technology misses the core issue. Most processes and systems function as intended, but the people expected to use them haven't been part of the journey or received the adequate guidance needed to work in new ways. Numerous studies indicate that the human aspect of transformation is often disregarded. A study by Proshi states that projects with good change management are 6 times more likely to fulfill or surpass goals. And up to 80% of digital initiatives underperform because organizations focus on digitizing processes rather than enabling people to work differently. Other findings show that many transformations underperform because organizations concentrate on digitizing existing processes instead of helping people adopt new behaviors. This gap generally appears early. In practice, it becomes obvious when individuals continue to revert back to familiar habits. As an example, they may continue to manage documents off-system or bypass new workflows because understanding why the change is happening has not been effectively communicated. These behaviors take root quietly and can slow adoption long before leadership notices. Change enablement addresses this pattern by creating clarity. It helps teams understand what is changing and why the shift matters. When people understand the purpose, adoption strengthens and the transformation gains momentum, leading to a long-term sustainable solution. The cost of ignoring people. When change doesn't consider the impact on workers, adoption stalls and efficiency drops. Confusion becomes the norm, and people revert to older methods because they don't feel ready to adopt a new way of working. This can result in a cumulative effect that slows progress, including productivity dips, inconsistent decision-making, and too much time spent correcting behaviors. Focused communication and engagement also plays a critical role in preventing these issues. These are often mislabeled as soft skill work, when in reality it is more closely aligned with operational risk management. Without clear communication and engagement about impacts and benefits, the why, people don't have the context they need to support the change. Change enablement gives teams a structure to manage the people side of change. It helps organizations communicate and engage the changes effectively, involve the right people, and build confidence throughout the transition. Sign that change is breaking down. There are recognizable signs that a project needs stronger change enablement support. One of the earliest is when a project begins with strong messaging at kickoff, but fails to maintain consistent and targeted communication as the project progresses. Another is when updates focus only on technical readiness items rather than explaining the impacts and benefits of why change is happening. These signs include stakeholders who feel informed but are not involved and are disconnected from decisions. Training that is planned as a one-time event instead of an ongoing role-based learning path. A growing gap between leadership vision and frontline execution. When these conditions appear, adoption becomes uncertain. People fall back into old routines because the new environment feels unclear. This leads to rework, delays, or the need for corrective actions after go-live. Recognizing these signals provides an opportunity to adjust the approach before the project loses momentum. A more practical path to adoption. ReVisionz structures the change enablement practice to help people move through digital transformation with clarity. Our approach focuses on understanding how work will shift, preparing teams for that shift, and reinforcing how organizations will adopt and sustain changes. Each stage is interrelated. Stakeholder and impact analysis. Understanding who's affected and how their work changes. Readiness planning. Preparing the organization to operate in the new environment. Targeted communication. Consistently explaining the why, not just the what, at every level, so teams understand why it matters. Capability building. Role-based training, coaching, and knowledge retention focused on adoption sustainment. Adoption measurement. Insights that reveal where additional support may be needed and how teams are responding to the change by tracking engagement, usage, and performance metrics. Reinforcement. Strategy that supports sustaining adoption through leadership, recognition, and continuous improvement. Moving towards sustainable transformation. Technology can introduce new capabilities, but the sustained impact comes from people who understand how to work in the new environment. When workers feel prepared and supported, transitions become smoother and confidence builds. These conditions help organizations realize value sooner, because teams begin using new tools in a consistent and reliable way. ReVisionz supports this journey by guiding organizations through the human side of transformation. We help teams understand the purpose behind the change and how their work will evolve. This clarity reduces hesitation and creates a sense of ownership that carries through the transition. When people feel equipped to participate and can see how the change supports their work, the organization moves forward with a shared sense of direction. That unity creates a foundation for transformation that lasts. Success is ultimately tied to integrating people into new digital ways of working. In addition to implementing technology, ReVisionz enables people to transform how work gets done. We keep transformation on track by aligning people at every level, which enables momentum, trust, and results. If your organization is preparing for a digital shift, we can help you build the structure that brings people along with confidence. Reach out to the ReVisionz team today.